Part 2. Selection. Tuesday, March 15th, +1 NE. Chapter 2. Federation Conspiracy Theories. Marcus was torn from his dream by the deafening shrill of the alarm clock. Its evil red glow flashed 8:38 as the sun peaked the ridgeline of the eastern mountains and poured into his small upper-floor bedroom. He'd slept through its repeated warnings after a restless night, and now was late for class. He leaped out of bed and rushed to the bathroom mirror to complete his daily affirmation. This ritual influenced the outcome of a normal day for Marcus, but today it was critical. He was meeting his first Federation alien after class. Marcus squeezed a lucky coin in his right hand while he stared at the fear written across his face and spoke aloud. "I'm the man in the mirror. Better today than I was yesterday. And because today I may die, I'll use this opportunity at life to improve myself and help those around me. I'll stay calm and only focus on things I can control. I will not fear. No matter what I face, I'll face it from a place of peace and love. I'm capable of this. I'm the man in the mirror." Marcus was just over 6 feet tall, with slightly curled dark brown hair, broad shoulders, thick eyebrows, long eyelashes, and the olive complexion of his Italian mother. He had a strong, square jawline, an enchanting smile, and hazel eyes that seemed to change color depending on his mood or clothing. Marcus threw on yesterday's black shirt and jeans before bolting down the tight old staircase, through the large kitchen and out the side door. He could either walk the uphill length of campus to class in 27 minutes, or run it in 13. Today he'd have to run. As he burst into the classroom, his momentum brought the instruction to a momentary standstill. All eyes were on him. There were 12 other students in his Federation Acculturation and Cooperation tract, FACT, a higher education alternative set up after first contact by the Federation to train praetors, human emissaries working with the aliens to integrate worlds. These classes were small to foster personal relationships between students and their teachers, and ran in tandem with the standard university system. Marcus's FACT teacher was Bill, an older guy and body only, well over 6 feet tall with a silver ponytail and matching beard. He sported round glasses and dressed like he was on eternal vacation. A deep voice completed his towering presence, yet he was the most affable person Marcus had ever met. Bill instilled confidence in his students, that no matter what they faced, he'd be there for each of them. "Thank you for joining us," Bill said with his characteristically large smile. "Sorry," was all Marcus could muster between gasps for air. "We've been talking about choice following disclosure. Your abrupt appearance is apropos." Bill was one of several connectors hired by the Federation to teach FACT at universities around the world, and was fluent in 5 core pillars of knowledge: art, hard science, history, mathematics, and social science. What set connectors apart from professors of the old ivory tower ideology was their creative spark, an ability to find unexpected links between these 5 disciplines, and fold that knowledge into one engrossing educational experience. Bill, like other connectors, was accused of being a shadow, a derogatory term for aliens masquerading as humans. Accusations persisted because the Federation looked and acted like people. This wasn't because God made universal beings in humanity's image, but rather a result of the Federation's cloaking technology easily manipulating the 5 human senses, leaving the mystery of Bill's identity unsolved. "As I was saying," Bill continued while Marcus found his seat in the second row, "when first contact took place on New Year's Day last year, we were hit with a wave of revelations. Overnight, we learned we weren't alone in the universe, and humanity was facing an imminent invasion from an unseen third group, a confederation. The choice presented to us was either voluntarily integrate into the Federation's universal society, or reject their offer of alliance, and face the confederation on our own." "It's way too convenient there's one sensible choice in that situation," said Amita, the class's sole black student and esteemed local rap icon. He played up this identity with horizontal tram lines shaved into his short hair, gold-framed glasses, and throwback MC Hammer-esque clothing. "The Confederation threat to conquer and enslave us exists regardless," Bill said, pressing the tops of his hands against his lower back, interlacing his fingers, and twiddling his thumbs skyward while pacing. This stance reminded Marcus of kings and generals depicted in history books, and it signaled that Bill was in a state of deep contemplation. "Assuming they're real," Amita mocked, There's no proof beyond the Federation's word. The only firm detail they've shared is that the Confederation is human. That's a valid concern. Scrutiny of the Federation's claims, omissions, and actions is healthy, Bill replied. Do you think the Federation made it up? Marcus asked Amita. If so, why? To what end? What about world domination? Amita answered. In the 15 months since the Federation arrived, they've been peaceful, Marcus countered. They've never shown any desire for conquest or minus North Korea, Amita interjected. The exception that proves the rule, said Quinn, the class's ROTC soldier, an unapologetic Irish loudmouth. They brought that on themselves by preemptively attacking the Federation. Every other nation was smart enough to sign their peace treaty. The Federation did what humans have never been able to do on their own. End state-level conflict. Attacking another nation means attacking the Federation. And no one wants to end up like North Korea. Right, Marcus said. Everywhere you look, there's evidence the Federation is helping us. I don't buy it. Amita turned around to face Marcus with his next challenge. Your best friend is notorious for exposing all the ways the Federation could threaten us. Marcus scanned the class for Jordan, but he was MIA. Amita was correct. No one else on Earth knew more about Federation conspiracy theories than Jordan. Marcus's favorite theory claimed Buddhists could see through the Federation's cloak from a sixth sense developed through meditation. And Jordan's not the only one, Amita continued. Last month, when we all went to hear that guest lecturer from George Mason, Dr. Brian Kaplan, Lindsay clarified. She was an older student with big hazel green eyes and brighter red hair than Quinn. She was Bill's teaching assistant, tasked with remembering such details. His survey data showed that 97% of intellectuals in the United States were suspicious about the promise of Federation integration and the benefits of free exchange with them, Amita continued, assuming we don't collapse on our own from downward harmonization first. He also said those intellectuals were wrong, Quinn pushed back. Then why is the Federation isolating exchange to universities and advisory relationships at the black market? Just open the floodgates if the economic impact is going to be so great for us. Project Noble is doing that, Marcus insisted. Universities and classes like ours are ground zero for the transition. And Kaplan, like anyone willing to point out the positive aspects of the Federation's presence, has been opposed, sometimes violently, by people screaming they're invaders and occupiers despite Jordan uses those terms. All the time, Amita preempted. Marcus knew he was right. Whispers made it clear the class was forming factions in the debate. Why universities? Quinn asked Bill. According to the Federation, it's for their diversity. Universities represent a natural microcosm of humanity, where people of different backgrounds and beliefs converge to learn. There's another point worth considering. Confederation and interstate conflict aside, the Federation arrived at the height of our social instability. But, as the actions of some coalition members prove, they still haven't eliminated interpersonal conflict, like what Kaplan and others are subjected to. Murders and suicides, for that matter, have continued at varying levels since disclosure. Wait, the coalition or the Confederation? Asked Amita. It's easy to confuse the two, but I'm talking about the coalition now. The fight against integration with the Federation's universal society unifies their loosely affiliated human organizations. That doesn't necessarily make them pro-Confederation, Amita replied. Objectively speaking, their behavior benefits the Confederation, assuming they exist. Two things. Marcus jumped back into the discussion. First, my girlfriend, Diana, is a therapist for the coalition at their Salt Lake clinic. She helps people with real problems, so it's not like they're a mindless, monolithic mob, even though I believe they're wrong about the Federation. Second, the spike of murders and suicides after the Federation's disclosure is down to pre-arrival levels, and in most places are now lower. Most of those deaths were religiously motivated, Bill explained. If you look at the demographic patterns, it was disproportionately older, uneducated people driving the trend. You kids don't appreciate how some people fear change, since your generation is used to constantly adapting to new choices. The Federation's arrival challenged entire worldviews, many of which go back thousands of years. Something as simple as the New Era calendar proved too much for a few people. They couldn't handle starting over at zero, with years before being negative values and those after being positive. Suicide and violence are predictable human responses to situations of uncertainty. But they are, like everything else, an individual choice. Why didn't the government just cover up the Federation's arrival? Asked Quinn. They could have chosen to integrate without any of us knowing and told us after it was done. Could they have? Bill challenged. I know a lifetime of mainstream media has implanted the idea that an all-powerful government could sweep something like this under the rug with a few black suits. But the Federation went to the public with their disclosure, person by person, simultaneously across the globe. Governments didn't have the option to cover it up. The only choice available was how we individually reacted. A few people went on murdering sprees, and a few more chose to kill themselves. Everybody else adapted, because people had already accepted alien contact as a matter of when, not if. The better question is why that was the case. Pop culture, said Lindsay. Definitely, Bill answered enthusiastically. That played a powerful role in preparing the public for the Federation's arrival. But what else? Education? Asked Quinn. In what way? Bill asked. When you're educated, it's easier to know when people are fucking with you, Quinn replied. The class erupted into laughter. That's undoubtedly a benefit of education, said Bill. But is that it? How does being educated translate to the mostly peaceful transition we saw? The class found itself collectively quiet. I'm glad our topic for this week sparked such a lively debate. I want to end our thesis day by telling you the tale of Buridan's ass. Nice, muttered Quinn, triggering another round of laughter. It's a paradox with roots back to Aristotle. Bill paced slowly through the wide symmetrical rows of seats. The most popular version features a donkey. This animal is equally hungry and thirsty. To his left is food and to his right is water. Since he's a lazy ass, he'll go to whichever of the two options is closest. He swings his head back and forth to decide which life-saving sustenance is closer. But by chance, they happen to be an equal distance apart. Can you guess what happens? The donkey dies, Marcus said. Correct, though I doubt you actually guessed it. My mom used to say I'd die like Buridan's ass when I'd take too long picking candy at the store. Bill laughed from his belly before taking a deep breath and resuming. Okay, good. What do you and the ass have in common? We both can make a choice, Marcus answered. Exactly, Bill replied. You have the free will to make choices nobody else can make for you. You, me, us. We have more choices available than any generation that's ever lived. Said another way, we have more free will than our ancestors. With what? Asked Amita. Your education, job, where to live, who to marry, which god to worship, whether to believe the Federation's claims that the Confederation is out there waiting for the right moment to pounce on Earth. Another long silence began. Your tranquility tells me you appreciate the gravity of our thesis for this week, the ideas of individual choice and free will. Tomorrow, during our antithesis class, we'll attack these ideas with everything we've got. On Friday, we'll synthesize our knowledge and come to a consensus. Are there any other questions before we call it a day? I can't believe this is the case, said Lindsay, but I don't think we've discussed who came up with their names. The Federation and Confederation? Bill chuckled. I'm not sure. However, I doubt it was the Federation. I'd be shocked if they'd seen Star Trek before reaching Earth. There are uncanny similarities between our new alien allies and those depicted in science fiction stories, but that's a discussion about the genre for another day. Why are the names backward? Asked Amita. What do you mean? Bill probed. By definition, Amita explained, a federation is involuntary and a confederation is voluntary. But the Federation is about voluntary choice while the Confederation is about force? And yet, Bill said with a smile, the side we choose is up to us. See you all tomorrow. Marcus emerged from class into the unexpected warmth of the morning sun. It felt incredible on his skin. It had been a dark, dry winter, with March roaring in like a lion. Trees were blooming, and everything felt alive as he slowly trekked across campus to meet his first, undisputed alien. He'd gone less than 100 feet when Velia, another student from Bill's class, caught up with him. Marcus, hold up! That was a pretty heated debate today. I thought you made some great points. Thanks, Marcus replied curtly. He was ambivalent toward Velia because she seemed to spend more time watching him than paying attention to the actual lectures. She was a foot shorter than Marcus, with deep brown eyes and wild curly brown hair that spilled past her shoulders. She had an athletic build and a friendly smile, but Marcus couldn't pinpoint why she made him nervous. Her incessant questioning and unavailing chit-chat didn't help. Where are you headed? Want to cerebrate on the weekly topic? Velia was referring to the required self-study time, a core part of fact class. I can't today. I'm on my way to Carlson Hall. Really? Velia paused, standing in place, then ran to catch up to him again. He hadn't considered the consequences of sharing details about his interview with the Federation researcher. Since Velia knew about Project Noble from fact, he didn't hesitate. "You were invited to selection?" she asked. "I was." "When and how? That sounds so interesting. I'd love to know what goes on in the lab." "Yesterday at the Pi Day celebration, the Federation scouts dressed like Albert Einstein." "Why?" "Why what? Why were they dressed like Einstein?" Velia clarified. "Pi Day is also his birthday." "How old would he have been?" "I don't know," Marcus snapped. "Want me to Google that for you?" "No need. Why'd the scouts invite you?" "They had a virtual reality game set up, and what was the game about?" Velia's eyes widened. "It was a first-person shooter against drones. I'm not trying to be rude, but I was planning to go over interview questions in my head on the way, if you don't mind." "Make sure to prepare an answer about what your biggest weakness is. It always seems to come up." "Thanks. Enjoy the rest of your day." "You too," she said with a look of unjustified abandonment. "Good luck." The damage was done, and Marcus spent the rest of his walk preoccupied with the guilt of being an ass to Velia. Mesmerized by the magnitude of this moment, Marcus paced outside the lab. Carlson Hall was a literal stone and mortar enigma of the Federation. Unlike the other schools with fact, the University of Utah was unique for hosting the only Federation research lab on Earth. People called it Utah's Area 51, the birthplace of a new wave of alien technology. Except here, the aliens were undoubtedly in charge. The real purpose of the Federation's lab was known only through the objective statement for Project Noble. For the cause of cooperation toward mutual progress, all exchanges will be individual, voluntary, and tied to commerce, education, or research through social experiments, aimed at understanding the human form to assist in the integration of worlds. Marcus circled the building multiple times. Carlson Hall had an S-shaped layout, like the Tetris piece he hated getting as a kid. Its 3 stories looked tiny next to Rice-Eccles Stadium, home of the Utes football team. Ute meant land of the sun, but another possible translation was people of the mountain. The name was taken from a local tribe displaced during Manifest Destiny. As Marcus stood in the stadium's shadow, he wondered if the Sabines, a people who suffered an identical fate during the expansion of the Roman Republic, saw their name used at Roman arenas. Marcus grew up immersed in history. His father had been a professor of classics at the University of Utah and had an office in Carlson Hall. Despite its historical importance as the first female dormitory on campus and former home of the school's history department, the building was torn down a few years before the Federation's arrival to expand the neighboring law school. Society needed more people to throw its stones. As part of the university's agreement following first contact, the law school was later moved to a smaller footprint next door so the Federation could rebuild Carlson Hall, a feat accomplished during a single evening. Marcus's mind was swimming as he approached a nondescript brown metal door facing the back alley loading dock. This is where the scouts told him to go. He was growing increasingly nervous and began to mentally recite what he knew to avoid focusing on the unknowns. Through that door was an interview with a Federation shadow. This was the first step in selection for the cohort, an elite group of humans engaged in the Federation's social experiments as part of Project Noble. Marcus timidly touched the door's handle, pausing to take a deep breath before pulling it open.